The hospice nurse handed me a plastic bag with my mother's rings in it, and my phone had 14 missed calls from my sister. The same sister who hadn't set foot in that room in 6 weeks. I'd been sleeping in the recliner next to Mom for 9 days straight. My neck was locked sideways. My hair smelled like the lemon disinfectant they mopped the floors with every morning at 5. I didn't know yet what those calls were really about. I wouldn't know for another 3 days. And by then, the locks on my mother's house had already been changed. My mother raised us alone after our dad left when I was 11 and Claire was 8. She worked the front desk at a Holiday Inn for 22 years. Same shift, same polyester blazer. She never complained, not once. But I remember the sound of her shoes hitting the kitchen tile at 11:30 every night, and the way she'd stand at the sink for a full minute before she even turned the water on, like she needed that minute just to remember she was home. She was the kind of mother who wrote notes in your lunchbox until you were embarrassed by it, and then kept writing them anyway. She once drove 2 hours in a snowstorm to bring me a heating pad when I had cramps in my college dorm. That's who she was. She showed up. Claire was different. Not cruel, just far. She moved to Charlotte after college, married a man named Doug, who sold commercial insurance, and built a life that looked beautiful from the outside. Christmas card family, matching pajamas, a golden retriever named Baxter. She visited Mom maybe twice a year, always with flowers, always with a gift basket from some company I'd never heard of, always for exactly long enough to take photos and post them. I'd see the posts later. Nothing like home. My forever person. 87 likes. She'd be gone by Sunday. When Mom got diagnosed, early onset Alzheimer's, age 61, I was the one who moved back. Not because anyone asked, because it was obvious. Claire called once a week for the first 2 months, then every other week, then when she remembered. I quit my job at the veterinary clinic, a job I loved, a job I'd spent 4 years getting certified for, and I moved into my mother's guest room with 2 suitcases and a slow cooker. That was a Tuesday in March. I remember because Mom looked at me when I walked in and said, "Are you the new girl?" And I said yes. And I meant it. For 3 years, I was the night shift daughter. Medication at 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. Showers that took 45 minutes because she'd get scared of the water and I'd have to sing to her. The same hymn every time. Amazing Grace. Because it was the only thing that made her hands stop shaking. I learned to sleep in 2-hour intervals. I learned what a pressure sore looks like and how to turn a grown woman in a bed without waking her. I learned what it sounds like when your mother calls you by your dead grandmother's name and means it as a compliment. Mom had a filing cabinet in her bedroom, old tax returns, insurance policies, the kind of paperwork I kept meaning to organize but never had time for because there was always a medication to give, a meal to make, a fall to clean up after. I didn't touch it. I wish I had. Claire visited 4 times in 3 years. I know because the hospice coordinator asked me to track family involvement for Mom's care plan. 4 visits. Average length, 2.5 days. She brought gifts every time. A cashmere throw from Nordstrom, a lavender diffuser set, a framed photo of all of us from 2011. Nice things, expensive things, things that said, "I care," without requiring her to actually do any of the caring. But I hadn't opened that filing cabinet yet, and what was inside was going to make the last 3 years feel like a prologue. Mom died on a Wednesday in October. Quiet. No emergency, no last words. She'd stopped recognizing me about 4 months before, but that last week she held my hand while she slept, and I told myself that counted. I peeled the pillowcase off the hospital bed and pressed it against my face. It smelled like her lavender lotion. I folded it and put it in my bag. I don't know why. I just wasn't ready to let go of the last thing that still smelled like her. Claire arrived the next morning, red-eye from Charlotte. She walked in with a rolling suitcase and a face I couldn't read. Not grief exactly, more like logistics. She hugged me in the kitchen and said, "You did so much." Past tense, like I'd finished a shift. The funeral was small. Claire handled the arrangements. She insisted, and I was too tired to argue. She picked the flowers. She picked the readings. She stood up and gave a eulogy that made people cry, and I sat in the second row and thought, she sounds like she's describing someone she read about. 3 days after the funeral, I went back to Mom's house to start sorting through her things. I still had a key. Or I thought I did. The lock was different. Brand new deadbolt, brushed nickel. I stood on the porch I'd swept every morning for 3 years, and my key didn't fit. I called Claire. She didn't pick up. I called again. Nothing. Third try, she texted, "I had the locks changed for security. I'll bring you a key this weekend." For security? My mother's house, the house I lived in, the house I mopped at 2 a.m. because Mom had knocked over her water glass again, and my sister changed the locks for security. I didn't wait for the weekend. I drove to Claire's hotel. She was sitting in the lobby with her laptop open and a cup of coffee that probably cost more than my last grocery run. And that's when she told me. Mom signed a power of attorney 18 months ago. I'm the executor of the estate. The house, the savings, the life insurance, it's all being handled. I asked what handled meant. She said she was listing the house, the savings would cover Mom's remaining debts, and the life insurance was structured to go through probate. I asked who structured it. She said, my attorney. Not our attorney, not Mom's attorney, her attorney. I said, Claire, I slept in a recliner for 9 days. Where were you? She didn't even flinch. She said, Mom couldn't have asked for more than what you gave her, but someone had to handle the practical side. I said, Claire, Mom couldn't remember my name 18 months ago. How did she sign a power of attorney? And she looked right at me, no hesitation, not a blink, and said, she had good days and bad days. You know that. I happened to visit on a good day. She happened to visit. Claire, who visited 4 times in 3 years, happened to visit on the one day our mother with advanced Alzheimer's was lucid enough to sign a legal document, handing Claire everything. I stood there in that hotel lobby, and the lavender from Mom's lotion was still on my hands, 3 days after she died, because I hadn't been able to throw away the bottle. My sister sat in front of me with her laptop open and said she happened to visit on a good day. I remembered the call from Hilton Head. I could hear the ocean behind Claire's voice, asking if Mom was doing okay today. And I was on my knees scrubbing the bathroom floor because Mom had had an accident and was crying in the hallway. That memory hit me right there in the lobby, and I had to grab the back of a chair. I told her she had no right. She said, I had every right. I'm her daughter too. And frankly, you being there every day doesn't mean you were making the best decisions for her. You were too close to it. Too close to it. I changed her diapers. I held her hand through a seizure at 3 in the morning. I was too close to it. The power of attorney was a crime. What I found 2 weeks later was the receipt. The bank sent a statement to the house, to my name, because I was still listed as the mailing address. Automatic transfers, 200 here, 300 there.
all from Mom's savings into a checking account I'd never seen. Claire's name on it. The transfers started in April, 20 months before Mom died. I went back through the dates. April. That was the same month I quit my job to move in full-time. I told Claire I was giving up the clinic, giving up my apartment, giving up everything to take care of Mom. And Claire said, "I can still hear it. That's so brave. I wish I could do what you're doing." She said that on a Tuesday. The first transfer was Thursday.
2 days after I gave up my entire life for our mother, Claire started draining hers. I was standing at the kitchen sink, Mom's kitchen sink, even though nobody lived there anymore, and I stared at that bank statement until the numbers blurred. Then the memories started. I remembered Thanksgiving 2 years earlier. Claire flew in with a new Burberry coat and a bottle of wine she called a little treat. Mom was wearing the same cardigan she'd had on for 3 days because I couldn't get her to change without a fight. I was in a Walmart sweatshirt with a stain I'd stopped noticing. Claire carved the turkey. I fed Mom 1 spoonful at a time. I remembered the lavender diffuser set, $40 on the box. Claire said she'd picked it because Mom always loved lavender. She did. I knew because I bought the lotion every month, rubbed it into her hands every night, and went through a bottle every 3 weeks. Claire knew it because it was on a gift guide. I stopped crying on a Friday. I was standing at that same sink, water running over my hands, and I realized my jaw was clenched so hard my teeth ached. I wasn't sad anymore. I was calculating. Crying wasn't going to get the house back. The timeline was. I called an elder law attorney Monday morning. Her name was Diane. I told her the whole story in 11 minutes, and she didn't interrupt once. When I finished, she said, "How soon can you get me the medical records?" I said they were already in my car. The cognitive assessment from the month Claire filed the POA showed Mom scoring an 11 out of 30 on the MMSE. Below 24 is impaired, below 18 is severe. Mom scored 11 on Claire's good day. Diane filed a petition to invalidate the power of attorney on the grounds of diminished capacity. She filed a motion to freeze the estate. And she sent Claire's attorney a letter, not a call, a letter, on letterhead, requesting documentation of how the POA was obtained, including the name of the witness or notary. Claire's attorney responded in 4 days. The notary was a mobile notary Claire had hired privately and brought to the house on a Tuesday afternoon, while I was at the pharmacy picking up Mom's prescriptions. She waited until I left. She brought the notary. She got the signature. And she never said a word. The forensic accountant confirmed what the statement showed. Over 20 months, Claire transferred $41,000 from Mom's savings into her personal account. $41,000. While I was buying generic cereal and putting gas in my car $10 at a time because I had no income. While Claire posted photos of her golden retriever on a flagstone patio with a $2,000 egg chair my mother's savings had paid for. The court invalidated the power of attorney. Gone. The estate went to an independent executor. The house was sold, and the split came down 50-50 under intestacy. $41,000 treated as an advance against Claire's share. She got less than 1/3 of what I got. She didn't contest it. Her own attorney told her not to. But the thing that mattered most wasn't the money, wasn't the house, wasn't even the POA. It was the care log. 3 years of entries, every medication, every bath, every fall, every night I sat up with her, every hymn I sang, every time she held my hand and didn't know who I was. Diane submitted it with the petition. It's in the court record now. Permanent. My name. Every page. I live in a one-bedroom apartment now. It's small, and it's mine. Some nights, the quiet is too loud after 3 years of listening for her breathing. I keep a bottle of lavender lotion in the bathroom. Not hers. A new one. Same brand. I put it on my hands before bed, and for about 10 seconds, the room smells exactly like hers did, and I'm back in the recliner, and her hand is in mine, and she's here. Claire hasn't called. I don't know if she will. I was the night shift daughter. I was there for every single one. And now there's a court record that says so.
Claire can frame that.